A sad way to start the Calcio guys this week. Big news today. The god himself, the footballing legend himself, the Napoli legend, Diego Armando Maradona. He passed away today at the age of 60, and just obviously terrible news. It affects Calcio fans, not only Calcio fans, just when I mean Calcio, I mean Italian soccer fans, but soccer fans around the world. Originally here on the Calcio guys, we were going to do an episode with Pizza Calcio. We wanted to have fun with that episode, talk about pizza. We decided, we'll wait for that for a week. We'll dedicate this episode, a shorter episode, to Diego Maradona. How you guys doing?
Well, I guess it's not the easiest of news to take in and stuff. It's a big heartbreaker, especially for what he meant for the city of Napoli. So, especially having like roots to that region and stuff, it's like as if you lose your biggest representation of your people. Like he was the guy who he was the voice of Napolitans. Like he is the guy who everywhere, like if you talk soccer and you talked about Maradona, he also talked about his days at Napoli. He didn't talk about his days at Boca Juniors. He didn't talk about his days at Barcelona, even though they are to respect. Like he spent a good amount of years there. Like when people think of Maradona for soccer, it's the late 80s Maradona and like the early 90s, which is the Napoli Maradona.
One of these episodes that we usually get passionate. We usually scream, yell, argue, whatever, and everything in the world that just all goes away. And it's hard because we unfortunately didn't get to see Maradona's Napoli, Maradona in his prime, Maradona. The god that he's named by so many. We didn't get to witness those days, but besides that, nevertheless, when you say Maradona, the impact that he left on not only Napoli fans, but Calcio fans around the world. And he is an icon, a legend, an idol for so many. The city of Naples, I can guarantee you miss him dearly. And, it's one of these things that it was a shock. It was a shock and so unexpected. The man recently turned 60 years old. Went through a brain operation that was supposedly successful, and today we wake up to the saddening news of his passing, and he definitely leaves a big mark on many people's lives, on the Calcio world, footballing world, and even outside of that, because sports legends or just sporting figures outside of Calcio, recognized his greatness and what he meant to sport in general, and it's just it's sad to say, and we always wish that you got to witness these days of Maradona, and I can't say I have, but I'm deeply saddened, and may he definitely rest in peace, which he so gratefully deserves.
One thing about Maradona, he doesn't have the individual records. He doesn't have all-time goals. He doesn't have all-time games played. He had kind of a bit of a shorter career, than a lot, especially players. Today, if you're going to look at Messi, if you look at Ronaldo, they played for so much longer, so they're obviously going to break all of his records. But it's the impact that he had in that short time. He was only in Napoli for 7 years, and if you look at it in modern terms, again, there's players who stay with the club a lot longer. I think Mertens is about the same right now with Napoli. And,
he's about to enter year 8. Well,
I think
he's in year 8 right now.
8th season. but Maradona, 7 years. He spent 7 years in Napoli, and he's had an impact on a whole generation, that generation's kids, that generation's grandkids.
Yeah.
We Adriano, we were in Napoli a year ago in December,
Yes.
and I just remember walking around and seeing Napoli colors everywhere. Obviously the club's colors everywhere, and usually that was associated with a painting or a picture of Maradona. If it's not Maradona, it's one of the current players or Hamšík, Mertens, Insigne. But 95% of the time there was something about Maradona. But I just remember walking around and seeing Maradona everywhere. I'll be honest, I didn't even think about it. It was just Maradona. He's part of Napoli. It's not like it was oh wow, it's not like it was a shock to me because we already knew the impact he had on Napoli, and it was almost as if it was just part of the environment there. All those murals and paintings on Maradona, and you can't picture Napoli without it. And now, the fact that already it's been proposed to change the Stadio San Paolo to the Stadio Diego Maradona. I was reading somewhere in Italy they can't name stuff after people who are still alive. So I mean, it kind of makes sense that they propose it now. But I think that's a perfect tribute to him because he was able to fill that stadium without even playing a game. When he first joined Napoli, you got 50,000 fans in that stadium, and there wasn't even a game going on.
Mm-hmm.
That picture was will forever be worshipped. Just him walking out of the tunnel, I'm not even a Napoli fan, and you get chills watching those videos. That picture, just there's so much more to that picture than just the image itself, and him walking from the stairs from the locker room onto the pitch with all the cameras and it really was that God has arrived, it seems, and it just honestly gives you chills and to say that Maradona when he first stepped there and that he'll forever leave a mark on Naples.
Yeah, prior to Maradona, a team winning Scudetto from the south was unheard of. It was always a northern team, or majority of the time one of the big three, Inter, Milan, or Juventus. And pretty much Maradona coming in, all of a sudden himself just made Napoli contenders, and he won 2 Scudetti, won a UEFA Cup, which is something that it's not the easiest thing to do. It's something that it's almost unheard of, and he helped Argentina win a World Cup, and that's what makes him so legendary. When I was younger, my stepdad used to tell me stories of when Italy lost to Argentina in the semifinals and they played in the Stadio San Paolo, and he said that he kind of had a bit of a spiteful towards he had a bit of a spite towards Napoli because even though Argentina beat Italy in that stadium, Napolitans were still celebrating Maradona. But you have to understand what this guy did for the city itself. That's the thing. So this was me as a kid. I never quite understood why. But then growing up, you kind of realize how the soccer world works and stuff. And I'm not saying this in a mean way towards those other teams. Obviously, if you have the financials, you have the financials. But for a small club, any type of glory is memorable. So, and if you can actually get the high end glory, then why not? And that's how you make yourself a legend.
Yeah, and I mentioned before, he doesn't have the individual records, and what at the club level, again, it's not like he has the most Champions League. He doesn't have a Champions League, but he won the UEFA Cup with Napoli, two Scudetti. Obviously, there's a lot more players that have won a lot more hardware, but that means nothing. He won those 2 Scudetti for Napoli, and those 2 Scudetti just mean everything for the city, as well as the UEFA Cup. And besides the trophies, we don't want to just talk about trophies, but it's what he did on the pitch. He kind of revolutionized football. Maybe there was a couple other players like Johan Cruyff, like George Best. George Best, by the way, he passed away 15 years ago today. So two legends on the same day passed away November 25th. But they're both him and Maradona are kind of those players where they were able to change the game on their own. Maradona, he could do whatever he wanted with the ball. Obviously I never got the chance to see him, right? Too young, but just seeing those videos, his warm-up video, I believe it was before a UEFA Cup semifinal where he's just dancing with the ball. He basically has the ball on the string. His goal versus England in '86, takes the ball from the halfway line, just dances through everybody, dances through the keeper. I can't imagine how hard it must have been to defend him. What can you do? Just stand there and watch him dance around you like you're a stick figure or something. That's what he brought to the game on the pitch, and for anyone who got to see him, that's definitely beautiful. That was definitely beautiful to see.
His technical skills were phenomenal, and especially at the time when a lot of defenders weren't as strong as they were today. Obviously, like barring a few of them, like they're a few legends, but of the game. But Maradona, no matter what, made them seem, I don't want to say like jokes, but he knew how to put players in his pocket. And there's so many plays that just, even though they didn't lead into goals, that he exposed so many players and so many holes and tried to set up his teammates for so many goals. And sometimes the teammate themselves are just like, they weren't good enough for the pass or the shot, and they just whiffed on it completely or missed completely, But just the fact that he was able, like, you put anybody next to or in front of Maradona, you were getting at minimum 20 goals that season. Like the man himself, if he wasn't scoring goals, he was just delivering it to you on a silver platter. And that's what makes him magical, because that's what made him magical, because he could do it all. He was literally a 10 on 10 number 10.
Adrian, are you still there?
I mean, yeah, no, it's hard to even, as much as, it's, like we mentioned many times already, we haven't got to see him play. We didn't have the chance to see him play, but it's hard to even speak when such a figure and just the amount of emotion you see online, and just to over one person himself that just left a mark, like I said. And talking about that famous warm-up video, that's a famous one. Nicholas mentioned at the ball always at his feet, and I think he had a quote in the past. I think IFTV had posted it actually, but it was a quote from Maradona in the past that he said, "Right on my tombstone, thank you to the ball." And he was a magician with the ball, like Johnny mentioned. He was just able to do it all, and revolutionized the game, like Nick said. And it's one of these things, like, you can't say enough good things about Maradona. Forget the whatever he did on the pitch, off the pitch, whatever, it was in the limelight. It didn't matter. He owned up to his things and his life, and it wasn't an easy one. This man literally went from rags to riches, I would say, and made the best of it. And his name will forever be remembered. So it's just one of these players that, as much as you want to compare players and this guy's the next, this guy's the next, Messi, the next Ronaldo, next Maradona, I don't think there will be a next Maradona. Maradona is himself, and I don't think, no matter how many different comparisons you want to make, I don't think anybody will reach that level of a player, of an icon, of a status that he has, and that he had. And that's it's just so sad. I don't know. I'm reading so many different Napoli fans and what they have to say about their idol, their icon, and just the generations that this one man touched, like we mentioned earlier, is is remarkable. You know, you don't see that very, very often in any sport, that is. So, yeah.
Can I just put something out there? We
Go
love
first.
to, out of all, like, you know, any sport, out of all athletes that are legends, we love to compare them. We love to, you know, talk about players being the next that, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's healthy to have a healthy discussion and, you know, compare your idols. But let's just appreciate them, man. Let's just appreciate them. We don't need this,
Exactly.
Messi, Ronaldo, Maradona, Pelé. Let's just appreciate them. You know, our generation, we're lucky to have Ronaldo and Messi. You know, our parents' generation had different players. You know why I've seen so many people get into, you know, arguments. Oh, this guy's better than this guy because they're goats for a reason. And while they're still around, let's enjoy them. Adriano, so you said you reached out to some Napoli fans. I know your uncle's a Napoli fan. I don't know if you had a chance to speak to him, or some of our friends from Napoli Twitter. Have you had a chance to speak to any of them?
Yeah. So, we had a crazy day today. From waking up to this horrible news to originally having a certain episode planned for tonight's episode, with again, you know, so gracious enough that the guys over at Pizza Calcio were totally on board to postpone our interview with them and to allow us to have this special episode dedicated to Maradona himself. And I tried our best to reach out to our, you know, Napoli Twitter, so anybody on Napoli social media that would answer, our friends that we've connected with over social media. So I do have a couple. We also have a voice note, a voice memo by Giuseppe Falanga that we'll play probably later. But I guess I'll start it off. Where can I start off? All right. So first off, the first one I see here is from former Napolitano, now at AP season, so for Andrea Petagna. So he says, and I quote him, he was a king to us, a god. The best player in the history of this sport, was a Napoli fan and truly blooded. He came to our city, saw the passion from us, and said, I need to win for these people. And he took down every giant in his path. Diego knew, and all Napoli fans knew, those Scudetti were worth more than a trophy from a game. He gave us joy and a love we will never forget. He'll live on forever in our hearts. Diego, tu no more mai, with many blue hearts. So I found that was really touching. Big Napoli fan. This was from the legend himself, another legend, Azzurri fan Phil. You know, controversial or not, he always has something to say. And he writes, and I quote him, we've heard, so he first says, I think you'll get a lot of similar comments about Maradona from both fans and rivals. I'll approach the praise from an angle you probably won't see much. Now, this is in typical Phil fashion to go against the grain on things, and we love him for it. So he says, we've heard Vesuvio wash them, even the dogs run, Naples is garbage, Napoli are losers for generations. A big reason, if not the reason, why Maradona will always be what he is to Napoli fans and the city of Naples is that he confronted all of that head on. He did it with his words, but his performances on the pitch and his winning ability truly made those same people shut up. And he wrote, shut up. That's why this is more than just a game, and he'll forever be, and always will be. Napolitani can never thank him enough. Moving on, another friend of ours at Forza Napoli Calcio podcast, Joe Fischetti, he writes, you always hear people say Maradona was great on the pitch, but had his problems off of it, which makes it sound like he was a bad person. Sure, he had his vices, not unlike many celebrities do today, but he wasn't a bad person. This one is my favorite Maradona stories, and he sent us a video And in that video, the caption was, in 1984, against the wishes of Napoli, Maradona played in a charity match for a sick child in one of the poorest suburbs of Naples. And that just goes to show you that it's not about, like Nicholas said, what he accomplished on the pitch, the trophies, the silverware. It's the person he was and the person that, many people looked up to. So for him to do... Sorry, go ahead, Johnny.
Fantastic, because
Yes.
I think in that video there's like 2,000, 3,000 people that showed up just to watch that charity game. He got a few of his teammates, a few of his friends too, or something, if I recall correctly. Like it's such a heartwarming moment. Like they're warming up in the parking lot of the park. Like it's just so interesting to see. It's something that you would do. Like, okay, we have an adult league game to warm up, and you warm up there. But to see a guy like Diego Maradona, he doesn't care. He's not for him, it's just the love of the sport. That actually spoke volumes of what soccer meant to him. Sorry, Adrian, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
I really love that video.
I'm glad you jumped in because, I watched it and it's amazing. It's like, when do you see a legend like that? And he's just in the streets playing with the kids or playing a charity match. Sorry, and it's. You don't see those things in these days, and everybody's attached to their phones and screw this, screw that. But he took the time to do that, and again, shows credit to his character and the type of person that he was. Okay, so moving on from another local boy, Walio on Twitter. Sorry, that's Peter Nardolillo. Great character on social media. So he had posted about Maradona, and he said, I guess he's similar in age to us, because he wrote, wasn't blessed to be born early enough to watch you play, but from what I've seen, you truly are the greatest ever. Thank you for doing what no one else could have. Thank you for doing what no one else could have for our beloved Napoli. And he wrote, Forza D10 per sempre. I will move on to a couple that I got on Instagram. Shout out to our former guest, Franco Cavallaro from Napoli Club Montreal, here in Montreal. I am rocking the scarf today that I was gracious enough to get from my uncle Franco. So reach out to him. He had a quick message back, and he wrote, Maradona, in my opinion, is the best player ever. Why? Because he dominated in Italy when defense was the name of the game, but he still excelled offensively. He broke the catenaccio. He also said that Stadio San Paolo should be renamed Stadio Diego Armando Maradona. I don't know if Frank had a say in the reports that we saw earlier, but Frankie, we can assure you that I think that should be official. I don't know if it's totally official, but I'm pretty sure it's almost done that they will be renaming the San Paolo. Who else did we have here? I'm going to go back on Twitter because we had them from all over.
I was just going to ask Gianni. So, Gianni, so your family's from Napoli. Your grandfather is the Napoli fan. Mm-hmm. And so I'm guessing, I know you heard all the Maradona stories growing up. Every time I see your grandfather, he tells me Maradona stories. So, luckily enough, you got a clip from him, so we'll just play that.
Yes.
Zio Luigi, the biggest.
Luigi. I just want to apologize ahead of time for my not perfect grammar. So just please be patient with the way I phrase my Italian. It's hard for me. Sorry about that.
And a little, I guess you could say, warning or whatever to the listeners. It is in Italian, so I mean, we'll try to translate it as best as possible after, but it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to understand.
Allora, per te, nonno, chi è Diego Maradona?
Diego Maradona was...
Ti puoi dire in italiano, se ti vuoi.
Ero piccolo, ma era grande, il miglior giocatore del mondo.
Yeah?
In tutti i sensi. Ha dimostrato in Italia che lui era il migliore e ha dimostrato anche nel mondo intero. Ed era un gentiluomo di persona, e amava il mondo, ma veramente che in Italia ha dato molto esempio a tutti i giocatori che giocano in Serie A e nel mondo intero. Per me è stato il più meglio giocatore del mondo, al di fuori come Pelé, anche un grande giocatore, ma Maradona Nato Maradona non esiste fino ad oggi.
Hai una storia favorita di Diego Maradona? Come preferisco? Come una storia, come una partita favorita?
La partita di...
No, come un momento di Maradona che tu, nella storia di Diego Maradona, che wow, lui è un giocatore spettacolo. Così.
Cioè, aveva tutto quello che uno vuole, cioè, aveva un complesso straordinario. Ha fatto anche in gol da mezzo al campo, con un tiro in alto, ha fatto un punto, cioè ha scorato un punto, no? Ha fatto un gol. Più è stato sempre il migliore per tutta l'Italia, avevano paura i club quando scendeva nel campo. Avevano tutti paura.
E questo gol è contro
solo che in Italia c'è la racchetta di politica, ma lui la politica se ne fregava. Dopo hanno obbligato a perdere uno scudetto perché l'hanno minacciato in Italia, perché dovette perdere uno scudetto, se no erano 3 scudetti, una presso l'altra, e più la Coppa d'Europa ha vinto con Maradona.
Sì.
E ha dato dimostrazione e fa capire che un solo giocatore è capace di vincere a tutte le squadre.
Yeah. Tu che penso che Maradona...
Ma c'era una bella squadra quando c'era Maradona. Ma lui ha dimostrato di essere il migliore del mondo in tutti i sensi.
Okay.
E a me mi dispiace perché veramente è stato un grandissimo giocatore di soccer.
E che penso tu che Napoli cambiò il nome del stadio San Paolo per stadio Diego Maradona?
È possibile che può arrivare questo, perché lo merita, perché è l'unico giocatore che ha dato l'esempio in Italia che vuol dire giocare il pallone, al di fuori certi giocatori che anche sono bravi, ma non a livello come a lui.
È vero. Grazie.
Se ci fanno una statua, o forse ce l'ha già in Napoli la statua sua, lo merita al 100%.
There you heard it, Zio Luigi with his thoughts on Maradona, talking about how he was the greatest player ever. There's never going to be another Maradona. How he obviously deserves to have the stadium named after him. Thanks again for that, Gianni. Nice to have him as a guest on the podcast.
Yeah.
So Gianni, so you're the Napoli fan, and I mean, frankly, Napoli hasn't been playing well lately. There was kind of a bit of controversy this weekend. Gattuso was a bit upset with his team. He made some comments, with the loss to Milan. But, do you think this, could kind of get the players rallying, seeing how loved Maradona was by the fans, and they see that and they tell themselves, okay, we need to play in honor of Maradona and for our fans who love this man so much. It's something that could, truly represent the club. It kind of like what happened with the LA Lakers this year, right? With Kobe, rest in peace to him too. Man, 2020, fuck 2020. Take away not only everything that's been happening in the world, but you take away 2 legends from us. In
sports world, there's been other big names too, like Eddie Van Halen and whatnot, like that were just taken away this year too, so I mean, just to comment on the Gattuso thing, Koulibaly even wrote publicly on Twitter today that comments like that weren't really made, like nobody was really disagreeing with him in the dressing room. There was no fight, like they're like, we're fully behind Gattuso, like the entire team is. And for one of your team leaders to actually say that, it shows that the team is not, they know that like they didn't have their best game against Milan. I'm not going to get too in deep to that, but like Milan played very well, like props to them on the win, but like they know that they can be better, and they know that they have a squad capable of contending for the Scudetto. I don't want to say that like they're a squad that's going to have a chance at have a strong chance at winning it, but nonetheless they'll have a dog in the race type of thing. So this is honestly an external motivation for the team. It's saddening to see a legend of your club pass away, and if your fans are sad, the best way to cheer them up is to bring some form of success for them. Now, whether Napoli does well in Europa League, whether Napoli does well in in the Scudetto race, or whether Napoli even wins the Supercoppa versus Juventus, like they're gonna, or even in the Coppa Italia this year, like they're still gonna try their best to bring something to the city. In my opinion, just for them trying their best, like reaching the finals of, let's say, these stages, or even winning the Supercoppa, like that's a nice honor. It's not, but there was a video that I'm sorry if I'm ranting here, but there was a video that I just retweeted on Facebook because I was digging through Mertens' Twitter, not on Facebook, on Twitter. Sorry, I said Facebook before, my bad. On Mertens' Twitter, that there was when Mertens surpassed Maradona's goal record, he released a video saying that he was actually very proud of him to do that. He was happy that he did that, and he said that hopefully one day you can help bring a Scudetto to Napoli and give it to the fans because they deserve it. And this was back in I think May or June or something. So it's crazy how a few months ago that kind of video was released and how much of an impact it can have today. So I think Mertens is probably going to look back at that video and him himself, use that as an internal motivation for sure. Insigne, he is a child of Naples. He's the face of Napoli. He's their current voice of the fans. So for Insigne, he's got a big responsibility on his shoulders to deliver for Napoli too, and he's always thinking about it. And maybe this might be the time. That's all I can say. I think they will win something. I really hope it's the Scudetto, but realistically speaking, it might be another Coppa Italia, or since the Supercoppa is a one-off game, they could probably win the Supercoppa versus Juve too.
Wow, if it's any year to do these things, it's probably 2020. So, Napoli's chances, along with anybody else's chances for Scudetto or for silverware this year, anything is possible. So I definitely do see that, and I do agree with the motivation, behind the players now. And again, if there's anybody to get the troops on board, no matter any disagreements, no matter whatever happens on and off the pitch, I think Gattuso is the man. He lost his sister this year as well, and that was a sad time. Now for the club to lose a legend, an icon of the city, of the club, I think there will be some fire in the bellies of those players, and they'll know that they'll be able to do it. And if they do something this year, it'll be for Maradona. So, and I do also like to just put in there that a lot of, I think, all the Serie A games, and I guess into European competitions, they'll be doing the moment of silence for Maradona. I think I saw it earlier today. So that's big ups for that. That's show a sign of respect for the man himself. So just quickly moving on, we had a couple more quotes I just wanted to shout out from different accounts, different people that reached out to us through DMs. This is on behalf of everybody at Napoli Club Toronto, the boys at the Figli del Vesuvio podcast. They write, "You are gone, but you will never be forgotten. You truly were the greatest to ever do it. Fly high, Dios. Napoli will always love you." As I said, from Napoli Club Toronto. Some accounts, I shot my shot at just trying to reach out to as many accounts as possible. It was some of them had no words. It was just really a really hard time, and I do want to shout out Out of Context Napoli on Twitter. I reached out to them, and they said, hopefully you guys understand that I have no words right now. It's a hard time, and you got to respect that, because it is a hard time. So I just wanted to shout them out because I said I would.
Even the official Napoli account, said that they tweeted something
exactly.
Like, right now it's, for a lot of people it's not the time for words. It's just the time to kind of reflect. I guess everybody deals with grief in a different way, right? So that was,
Absolutely,
good touch
absolutely.
by Napoli part, and I'm sure they're going to be doing a ton of tributes to him over the next days, weeks, months,
Years.
So there's going to be a lot of looking back on his career, and we did get another clip from Giuseppe Falanga, who runs a couple of Instagram accounts, including Exploring Italy on Instagram. So he's another Napoli fan. I'll just play you that clip. This time it's in English.
Today is a very tough day for me as a Napoli supporter with the passing of Maradona. Maradona was more than just a football player. He was a legend, an icon, and for the people of Napoli, he was a god. Maradona, at the time when he arrived to Napoli, people were shocked. They couldn't believe he moved to a team that, prior to his arrival, wasn't really successful. The city itself was going through a lot of financial issues, along with other crises with the Camorra. When Maradona came, people started having these feelings of happiness, joy, and it gave them almost something to look forward to every week, knowing that he would be playing on Sundays. Once Maradona really started bringing trophies back home to the city, there was no turning back for the city. The entire city changed for the better. Napoli started feeling a sense of hope. The people started feeling hope. Everyone started feeling motivated. Families, when they would have kids, would name them after Diego Maradona. I actually know a few friends that have first names that are Diego because of that. It just shows the influence that Maradona had on us Napoli supporters. In fact, if you visit Napoli, about every other store or restaurant is going to have a picture of Maradona hanging on their wall. I mean, I don't think you would see that with any other player, regardless of where you go. So just to see someone like Maradona who came from nothing and to almost bring the best out of the Napolitanis, that is something that is undescribable. And for that, Maradona, for me, will always hold a place in my heart for forever. So, and when my time comes, when I have my kids, I can guarantee that I will tell them the story like my father told me about Maradona.
A couple more quotes. We're gonna try to get Rafa from Far From the Vesuvius podcast. We've had on the podcast before. We'll try to get him later, but Adriano has a couple more quotes.
Yeah, well, we didn't even know. Again, we didn't even know how this episode was going to happen. We wanted to do our best to pay homage, to pay tribute to Maradona. I had to reach out to the guys over at Far From Vesuvius, Rafa being one of the members there, and he's like, I won't have time to write something or make a voice memo. So if I can hop onto the podcast, that would be great. And that's how this episode's going. But before that, like Nick said, I do have a couple more. Not too many. I think just 2 or 3 more. Just quick quotes from people that sent in something. This is from the Calcio Days on Instagram. Great page, by the way. They post some great content. They support us as well, so it's much appreciated from the 3 of us. But they write, obviously, thoughts and prayers go out to his family and all close to him. Argentines, Italians, and the world are all feeling this loss. Maradona's charm will stay with football for generations to come. And I think they hit it out of the park with that, because I think that is totally true. And I think lastly, and I hope I don't forget anybody, because it wasn't my intention if I did miss anybody, but I think I got everybody besides our gracious former guests that were supposed to come on, Pizza Calcio. They still reached out and said a few words on Maradona and his impact on Calcio. So they wrote, we were obviously too young to have watched him, but he really set the tone for what Calcio is today. The way the fans embraced and still celebrate him today is incredible. Calcio celebrates their icons unlike any other sport. Maldini, Ronaldo, Totti, Del Piero all seem larger than life. And it started with Diego. His talent, his passion, his charisma, and the fans in Naples. He set the tone for Serie A teams who needed to find Diego's quality on their own in order to compete, which resulted in the zenith season of any country or league by a mile. Serie A 1997-1998. We'll never see anything like that again. And he wrote, I'm sure you guys feel very similar. And we got to say, yes, we do, Pizza Calcio. We do feel very similar to those comments. Unfortunately, like we mentioned many times right now, we were too young to witness Maradona play. But again, you didn't need to watch Maradona play to know the impact that he left, and that he'll forever be in our hearts, be in Calcio fans' hearts, in Napoli fans' hearts, in just anybody in the sporting world's hearts. So I believe that's pretty much it. I think we'll probably have Rafa on coming up in a bit now, and I think he will probably speak about on behalf of himself, Kencho Freddi, and Marco Donofrio from Far From Vesuvius. It's a sad time, and just trying to scroll here, and I don't think I missed anybody. So again, thank you to everybody that did reach out to us. We do appreciate. I know this was a very, 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 very sad time for Napoli fans today. I knew it wasn't easy. We decided to maybe do this tribute video to relieve some emotion, and we're happy that you came along with us, that we can celebrate and honor Maradona together. So again, we from the three of us, we do appreciate you taking the time out of your days, your busy schedules, to shoot us a couple of messages so we can have it on the show together.
And it's crazy how like Maradona, not just for soccer fans, knew him, like not just Napoli fans, not just soccer fans, people that don't even watch soccer often and just know of it, knew of Maradona, and we're talking about it too. It spoke volumes of what kind of person he was, whether he had controversies or whether everybody knew him for what he did in the soccer world. Like people knew who Maradona was.
Yeah. It's an icon. So coming up, we'll try to get Rafa from Far From Vesuvius.
Argentina de inmediato busca la salida, y la salida de Argentina se ve más clara porque combina la habilidad de los jugadores, como en este caso Diego Armando Maradona, que cambia la velocidad, va al pique al frente, tiene a Burruchaga, se mete al área, manda sobre Peter Shilton, tira gol, golazo, ostentoso, bien bonito, bien fabricado, con una habilidad extraordinaria, con un dominio de pelota formidable, conservando el balón siempre pegado a los pies, entre la marca de dos, ahí se quita el foul, sale Peter Shilton, lo vence al otro sector y le mete un gol sensacional.
So joining us now from Far From Vesuvius podcast, Raffaele Rispo. Raf, first of all, how's it going?
Well, today it's going not so great.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you having me on. I really do. Obviously, it's a day of mourning for everybody in the Napoli community. Diego really touched the lives of a lot of people. He was a character off the pitch, and, he received a lot of criticism for his actions and antics and, things he got himself into, whether it be Camorra or, drugs or what have you, his attitude, the people that he, became friends with, and his lifestyle. But, I think that it's worth something to commemorate him for the things that he did on the pitch and for the way he was revered too by his peers. A lot of people who didn't agree with his lifestyle and didn't agree with his, way, the way he played or what he did, don't see the side that his teammates and his family and his friends see, and people who actually knew what kind of person he was or came across, him in his life, he was loved by everybody that he loved, and you won't find one teammate, former teammate, or very select few nemesis on the pitch would say something bad about Diego Maradona. So, that's how I want to remember him. And obviously, he was a very big part of my childhood. I'm a little older than you guys. I was able to actually see him play as a child, but I have vivid memories, and I've been on the show with you guys before, and I've been able to tell you, but I have memories of writing down, like I used to go to I would say like a religion course, right? Maybe before CCD school was around. And a friend of a friend would teach us about God and stuff like that. And she would give us a free time to like write anything we wanted to down on paper. And I, as a 6-year-old, would list the starting 11 to Napoli's 88-89 team that won the UEFA Cup.
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
That's all I would do. Like I knew my parents, and then I knew Diego Maradona. so it's today's a very difficult day, and I've been tearing up all day, and I had to work. I had to work through it today. Tomorrow being Thanksgiving over here, it was very busy at the barber shop behind the chair. And we'd have the news on, and NBC here does an hour of Sky Sports News, and it was Maradona dead at 60, and people would know who he is. My clients would know who he is because I have the picture next to my station, and they'd be like, "Wait a minute, that's him," and I'd be like, "Yeah, that's him." And we knew something was wrong. You're a little quiet today, and it was a tough day. It was a tough day, but I really appreciate you having me on to talk a bit about him. So
no, Rafa, we appreciate you jumping on here because we didn't know how this episode was going to go, like I mentioned previously, and you reaching out, taking the time to even reach out. We know you have a busy schedule always, so for you even to take the time now late at night to even come here and speak to us, we can't thank you enough, and and the rest of your FFV mates over there, and just thank you, because we know it hits home for you dearly, and we can't thank you enough.
And to jump on what Adriano said, it's like you nailed it perfectly. Like I'm the only Napoli fan of the podcast, and I'm born in '92, so I was born right after Maradona's time in Napoli. So it's fantastic that you came on, because we actually get some words from somebody who's actually witnessed him play for Napoli and stuff. And I know you did share some experiences before when we had you previously on the podcast, but I guess you can reiterate it or not. Like what's like, if you have maybe, it's hard to pick one memory, but if maybe like a top 3 memory, or maybe top 5, if you got some, I'm pretty sure you got many, but you can list as many as you want, like your top memories of Maradona watching him play.
I do. I have one that sticks out very dearly. And it's 1988-89 season. And Napoli beats Milan 4-1. And a lot of people have favorite Diego goals, and a lot of people will pick the Juve goal in the free kick in the box. And early in '85, they had the Lazio goal where he lobbed it from like this ridiculous angle, 30 meters out, and caught the keeper out of position, and keeper ends up tied up in the net. My memory of Diego, one of my first real memories of Diego was look up his goal against Milan, 4-1. It was the goal to make it 1-0. And it was this lob from the midfield, and Diego and Milan were playing a high line defensively all game. They went down 2-3-0, and they were still playing this high defensive line. And all 3 or 4 of the goals, they caught Milan really, really high, and they were able to capitalize on them. But the first goal was a lob, probably to about 30 or 35 meters away from goal, and the ball bounces in front of Diego, who took this run where the defense was just, and now don't forget, this defense of Baresi, Maldini at the time, this is a defense. This is a formidable defense.
Yeah.
Costa Curta's in that area too, and Diego sprints away from the defense, okay, and the ball comes over Diego and everybody else's head and bounces in front of Diego. And as Diego approaches the ball and it comes back up, Galli, the goalkeeper for Milan, who would later join Napoli, Galli would make his way out of the box to try to counter Diego's leap, and Diego heads it over Galli, and it just trickles and bounces like 3, 4, 5 times into the net. And I was just, as a 6-year-old, was like, holy crap, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen. They used to have a magazine, and I think they still do, the Guarino Sportiva, and they used to illustrate every goal in Serie A. So somebody would, like, I guess the author, the illustrator of the magazine would illustrate how every goal looked, and something like that illustration is burned in my brain for the rest of my life. And
wow,
I'll never forget that goal. Obviously, my father taught me Napoli from the minute I was born. I knew who Maradona was. I knew they won the Scudetto. I knew they lost the Scudetto the next season. And I knew what the Coppa UEFA was. And for me, the Coppa, even after we won the Coppa UEFA, for me, the Coppa UEFA was always the cup I wanted to win again, because we won it in '89, and I'll say this till the cows come home. The Coppa UEFA at that time meant just as much, if not, I wouldn't say more, but it meant just as much in prestige and in technical, I'm lost for words, but UEFA Cup and the Champions League of today were pretty much the same level of competition, because in the Champions Cup back then you had just the champions of your league, and the holders of the cup were competing in that tournament. And in the UEFA Cup you had 2, 3, 4, and 5 from Italy, and then other teams that are equivalent in Europe were competing for this UEFA Cup. So you had literally the best of the rest, which you'd find now in the Champions League. And for Napoli to win a Coppa UEFA, you see what it means to Maradona on the pitch when they win, in the final whistle. It meant the world to him, and he won something with his club internationally. That was something he wanted to do at Napoli, and he wanted to do ever since he got there, and he did it. And now you're like, the Europa League is whatever, F the Europa League, whatever. But back then, the UEFA Cup / Europa League was a big deal, was a very, very big deal. So, yeah, that goal in particular, winning the UEFA Cup. And then one more moment that I'll remember forever is winning the Scudetto in '90 and celebrating on Arthur Avenue in the Bronx with my family, my dad, my uncle, my cousins, and my cousin and my uncle on the roof of my uncle's Astro van, waving the Napoli flags. And I would stick my head out while my dad was driving and wave my scarf, my Magico Napoli scarf. And It was just memories that I'll never forget, and then just like that, he was gone, and I grew up remembering Napoli for Maradona, but then I ended up becoming more of a fan, an actual fan of the team, and not just someone who idolized Maradona and Napoli because my father did, like my kids do now, but I actually became more invested in the team, and as they kept slipping into the abyss, and, from there you had to deal with Serie B and watching them only by reading America Oggi and stuff like that. So then another really cool memory of Diego that I remember was way after his playing days in 2005, Ciro Ferrara's testimonial, and Napoli Maradona ended up making it to that after a lot of health issues, after a lot of things that happened in his life, ends up making it to there. And it was his return to Napoli since 1991. He'd never been back since. So, 14 years later, he shows up for Ciro Ferrara's testimonial at San Paolo, and the city of Naples would flood outside of his hotel and sing, oh mama, 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 oh mama, 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 right outside of his hotel. And he would be on the balcony of his hotel and jumping and just taking it in. You could just see the joy in his face. And he did a lap around Sao Paulo and, 70,000 in Sao Paulo saying goodbye to Ciro Ferrara's career. But knowing Maradona would be there, I think would help a lot, that there were 70,000 people there. It was just a joyous occasion. And I think that's how Napoli fans remember him, joy. A lot of things that he dealt with in his life and in his career, none of it really matters when it comes to Diego Maradona and his time at Napoli, and it's fitting that you see, people outside Sao Paulo today. And, it's just so surreal because we just went through it with Kobe Bryant in the Staples Center and how everyone has their, their vigils outside of there. And, it's a surreal day. And it's a day that you always think to yourself, it's coming. Where are you going to be? How are you going to do it? How are you going to deal with it? It's coming. He's not healthy, this and that.
Yeah.
But he was sick last month. He was okay. And then he's gone. So it just took me by surprise. And I found out because I was working. Like I said, I was busy. I was getting all these texts from home waiting for me. And then I get a text from my sister, who I don't get a text from normally. I mean, we talk a lot, but she doesn't just text me out of the blue unless there's something. And she says, "Did you hear the news?" And now I'm like, great. Now what? 2020. Now I said, Alessandra, I said, who? And she said, "Oh my God, I really am the one to break this to you."
Oh my God.
And I said, "Who is it?" She said, "Maradona." She said Maradona, and my heart sank. I didn't think that I would react this way, but
No, it's
a piece of my childhood. It's a piece of my childhood.
Yeah.
And when I think about my dad, I think about Maradona and Napoli and how Neapolitan he is and how I knew he was crying all day like a baby. And when I FaceTimed him, he just was red, listening to Kiss Kiss in his ear, and he was just red in the face. And it's so surreal. It's very surreal.
Raf, it gets us choked up on our end here because
for sure.
2020, like you mentioned, has been one of those years. We've mentioned it many times, and we said earlier we didn't get the chance to see him play. You did. A lot of people in your age group or older obviously saw him play, and it honestly pains us to see you in this state because every time we see you, you have a smile from ear to ear, and it really chokes me up because it's insane, man. And we thank you. We thank you so much to let this emotion out on our podcast, because we know that people out there that can't wait for this episode to air live when we post it. So to get a little bit of raw emotion, I think will hit home for a lot of people. So we appreciate it.
Thank you so much. One thing I want to say before we move on or you move on or whatever. One thing I want to say is this. For the Napoli fans out there who are very young, like yourselves, you've never seen Maradona play, but you know what he's done and what he's done for the city and for the team, for its legacy, for the legacy of Napoli. when you have children, teach your children what he was about, because I teach my sons about him. And when I called my fiance on FaceTime to tell her about it, because she follows too, with, she follows everything that I do. And we just celebrated his birthday, and we just, he was in the hospital, and, my son would be like, Dad, Maradona's in the hospital. Is he going to be okay? And I didn't expect them to be right by her side when I called to say it, but I said it, and they lost it. They lost it too. So to know that I was able to share video and stories and, the time that he gave to Napoli with them, it made me go back to when my father taught me, about Napoli, and we lived it together, and that's why I really hope that, Napoli can do something and win something bigger than a Coppa Italia, because I don't know if you guys saw the video. I'm sure you did. When we won the Coppa Italia, that was one of the most emotional. Listen, it's just Coppa Italia. It's just when you share something with your family, it's more than just a Coppa Italia. You know what I mean? Sharing, be able to watch your beloved club, because everybody knows that football is different. We watch Super Bowls, we watch World Series, we watch this and that. To watch your beloved club with your family and your kids lift a trophy. It wasn't, I got a lot of hate from a lot of Juve fans. Oh, it's just Coppa Italia. What's the matter with you? It was more than that to me because of my kids, and I just want to live that more and more with them while we have time on this earth. And please, to all the young Napoli fans who are going to start their family, teach them about what's going on now and how players now affect the team and how they impact the club, but teach them about how Maradona was here and everybody else is here.
Yeah. It's definitely something I can relate to. I mean, like, for myself, not completely related to soccer, but more towards hockey. My love for the Bruins comes from my father, and unfortunately he passed away when I was 10. And when the Bruins won the cup in 2011, I was 18 going on 19, and in Montreal, obviously everybody hates the Bruins, but going to the city of Boston for the Stanley Cup parade and just celebrating that, it was amazing. The city was alive. The only time I ever felt that kind of euphoria was when Italy won the World Cup in 06. I know we all talked about it, but I felt connected with people. People were on the streets celebrating and whatnot, and the players that I've witnessed play then, I'm obviously going to still talk about it to my kids in the future and stuff. And it's not, and that transcends even into soccer, players like I've witnessed like Francesco Totti, and I'm definitely be telling my kids about players like Hamsik, Cavani, Mertens, Lavezzi, Insigne, and eventually in the future Koulibaly. These are players that they obviously they're not at the same level as Maradona, but when a superstar plays for the club that you love and impacts your life so much, you want almost anybody to know about it, and so I definitely know what you're saying with, to keep a person alive, you keep on telling their stories, their legacy, and that's how they leave a mark. And it just goes to show how Maradona is going to have a forever mark in soccer, whether it's going to be the next generation or even 3 generations after that. When people talk about superstars for soccer, Maradona's always, always, always going to be in the first conversation.
Right. And you family is everything, man. Family is everything. Yeah. And to connect with your family, and I'm sure you felt your father in winning the Stanley Cup and celebrating the Stanley Cup. You felt the connection with your dad there too, and my dad's not gone, but my dad's 2.5 hours south, and to not be able to be with him because of COVID right now, for this moment, we were supposed to go see him for Thanksgiving, and COVID is getting stronger down here again, so my parents shut their house down and said nobody except for whoever's in here now can come to Thanksgiving, and I respect and I understand that, But of course, Diego Maradona would pass away the day before I was supposed to go there and be with my dad and share stories and drink and, watch videos and, share the moment together. And we couldn't do that. So I feel my dad with me today, and it's, I came home today and they knew I was going to be a wreck. And my fiance tried her first batch of strufoli today, and I come home to some strufoli on the table, and I'm like, and I completely lost it again because here's more of my childhood on the table here.
Oh my God!
And my kids helped her make it, and she called my mom for the recipe, and it just was and then we go to her parents' house today for dinner before Thanksgiving, and we go to her parents' house today, and there's her mother with open arms. Oh, come here. I know. And it's like, and I tell my fiance too, it seems so like nerdy to be so sad about someone you've never met before and someone who's not been, part of your club for so long, but there was it meant so much to me growing up and, being a kid, I'm a wrestling fan, right? The Undertaker just retired on Sunday, and the tribute was touching, and I shed a little tear. You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. It's my childhood. There's another piece of my childhood going, but this one was, I cried a few weeks ago too. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Italian band Ipu.
Of course.
My father. Oh yeah. Okay. So
the drummer.
Stefano, the drummer, passed away. Yeah.
Yeah.
And another piece of my childhood, because my father and I would play the records like on the actual record player, and now I have them all, like I have every album on my iTunes, and I found that out. My mom called me to tell me Stefano died. I said, Stefano, what do you mean Stefano? Stefano who? Ipu. And I said, oh my God, and I lost it again. And 2020 has been difficult, man.
Yeah.
It really has been. But this is you always say, you remember when, you found out what, when your hero left you. And I'll never forget today. I'll never forget it.
I think one thing I could also relate to as a hockey fan, when Jean Béliveau passed away about, I think 6 years ago now, just the city of Montreal. I'll never forget that. I mean, he was way before my time, right? Played in the 50s and 60s, but the entire city was just in mourning, and all the stories you heard about him. He played for almost 2 decades, I think, so he really, transcended different generations, and then his involvement with the Habs afterwards, he was just somebody else. Obviously I can't say he was my idol, right? But just seeing how that affected so many people, that was really eye-opening, and that was like the first time I saw that, what an effect an athlete could have on a community in that way. The reaction you see after he passes away, and seeing everybody's reaction today, seeing Napoli, news from Napoli, it kind of reminded me of Jean Béliveau and Montreal, and I feel like there's a lot of athletes who have specific impacts on cities. And, each city maybe has that one athlete. And for Napoli, it was Maradona.
Yeah. And I think it's, well said. And, obviously the other news that was reported not too long ago, I think it's fitting that, and I'm assuming you're on board with this, Rafa, that the stadium name will be changed, or in the works of being changed to in honor of Maradona. So I think that is fitting as well. It's not often we see something like that, and it just again shows how big of an impact Diego Armando Maradona had on Naples and the club itself. So just really, really quickly, I didn't want to leave anybody out. We reached out to so many Napoli fans, like I said, and last minute, Gio Cozzolino on Twitter. He just reached out, and I told him I would say his piece. He wrote quite a bit. He's on our side. He didn't really get to see Maradona play, but it just still shows how much of an impact Maradona had on so many people at no matter what age you were. So I just want to quickly read what he had to say. So he says, I simply just wish I had experienced Maradona with my own eyes. I'm 24, so I didn't get to live the legend, but my dad was just out of his teenage years when he had won both titles with Napoli. He was everything to our city, and to my dad, he was his idol. Growing up, all I would hear was how Maradona was the best to ever live, and no one could surpass him. My dad immediately texted me today, and he's not one to text, similar to Rafa's story. So that's how you know something is important. It's either extremely important or it's about Napoli. In this case, it was both. I asked him when he would come home from work if he cried, and he said he did get emotional, and repeatedly at the dinner table kept telling us that all he was just upset and just felt so sorry this had to happen this soon. He meant a lot to Napoli, even to generations that didn't see him play. It's only right that he's paid tribute this way. He's the best of all time. And I think that resonates with so many people. Yourself, Rafa, our age group, the younger generation, the old timers as well. From top to bottom, we can say that Maradona had an impact and will forever have an impact on everybody and the cultural world. So, I think, this was a great way to end this tribute episode to Diego Armando Maradona. From the bottom of our hearts, the three of us here, Rafa, you don't even understand how much it means to us in this hard time, this sad day to come on. And again, I'm getting choked up saying this, but it really, we can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing what you had to share with us. And we love you, and we love Diego. He'll forever be in our hearts. And we can't wait for this 2020 garbage to be over so we can come in and see you maybe or what have you, and just give a big hug, because I think everybody needs it. So
when we're allowed when
we're allowed to hug and kiss, I think that'll definitely be overdue. So definitely, guys, thank you so much. I know everybody's busy, everybody wants to get to bed. So to have this episode really meant a lot. Follow Rafa at Far From Vesuvius. They do a great job over there. Again, follow us at the Calcio, guys. You know what to do. Follow our podcast, our social medias at the Calcio, guys. And this is an episode that we'll forever remember. And we'll be back hopefully in a better state next week to talk more Calcio. So again, thank you. And, ciao, Diego.